Well, hey, welcome to Beyond the Message, where we expand the conversation from our weekly teaching to help us to just advance in our journey with Christ. I'm Josh Welchel.
And I'm Pastor Alex, and we're glad to be with you today.
So this week we began a new series. We began a new series called Rabbi Jesus, and we're diving into the historical and the cultural context of Jesus as a rabbi and what it means to be a disciple. And so, Pastor, on Sunday, you made it clear that Jesus was a radically different rabbi, that he wasn't like the others. He came to serve, not to be served, and he invites us to sit and to listen, to spend time with him. And he says that my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And yet I've heard many people talk about how it's very hard to be a Christian. And so I'd love to just begin the conversation with the question, if Jesus' yoke is really that easy, why does it feel so challenging at times?
Yeah, I think we all experience those moments in our Christian lives. And I think the answer really is that if Jesus' yoke is easy, his burden is light, he wasn't making that up. He was saying this is the truth of your walk with me. When it's not easy, we're wearing a different yoke. We may be wearing the yoke of religion, the yoke of self, performance, and there are dozens of yokes that we wear. But if Jesus' yoke is the yoke that is easy and his burden is light, then actually that's a litmus test as to, are we in the agenda of Jesus? When it feels easy and when it feels light, then we're probably following along with Jesus. He's not going to ride in the trunk of the car while we drive around on our agenda. He is the Lord of the universe, and he won't even sit in the co-pilot seat. He's going to be the pilot. But when we get in the trunk and ride along with his agenda, then it feels easy. But we're not in control. We have surrendered to Jesus Christ. And so I think that's the test, actually, of am I in the yoke of Jesus? Is this easy? Because righteousness is not something we give to him. It's something he gives to us. He wants to give us his righteousness. There's no amount of righteousness. In fact, ours is filthy, right? And so I think the test is it easy? Is it light? Then yes, I'm walking with Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so good. I think about the analogy of a car and trying to push it, when it's in neutral. Yeah. And as it gains momentum and inertia, you can walk alongside, but there comes a point in which as it's moving, you can push harder. It's not going to move any faster. And so it's keeping that pace with Jesus. And I love that. That's so good. One thing that I know about you, and I think most people in our church know about you, is that you always have a to-do list, and you love to achieve things. You love to achieve them quickly. And I think that many of us, myself included, can relate to that. And so one of the questions I thought would be helpful is to ask, what has helped you to really sit and listen and spend time with Jesus? And how do you keep it from just being a part of your to-do list or a rote task in your life?
Yeah, and so let me say a couple of things. Number one, I come by this list making naturally. My 88-year-old dad told my kids this summer one of his favorite activities in life is to make a list. And so I grew up with a list. In fact, daily there would be a list laying on the table for me when my dad would leave to go to work. And so I come by it naturally. But I would also confess to you that I think people who don't make lists are ineffective people and need a class, a Franklin Covey class. They need some sort of how to manage your life class. I sat in restaurants where waitresses or waiters, and there's a big party of us, are taking all the orders. They're not writing it down. And I know they're going to make a mistake, and I'm scared for them, actually, and because it would be so easy to just write it down. We wouldn't think any less of them. In fact, I honestly would think a whole lot more of them if they would write it down while we're making the order. So let's just get that out of the way, that I believe Jesus wants us to have a to-do list, and I think he loves that. So we can keep up with it. It actually gives me rest. If I can get it on a list, I don't have to worry about it. Yeah. I don't have to ponder about it. I don't have to wonder if I'm going to forget it or remember it. So that being said, it's on my list every day. And I actually go through the routine of writing on my priority list for the day, QT at the top. And that doesn't mean I'm going to stop at Quick Trip. It means quiet time. I'm going to spend time with the Lord. And I'm going to check it off when I get done. There's a great deal of satisfaction in checking it off. But while I'm in that time, my goal is to hear from the Lord. and to not just read the text, but let the text read me. I'm doing this year in 24 the Bible recap program,
Just so good.
and I've really enjoyed it. And one of the things I love about it is it checks off each of the readings, and so you know where you are on a day-to-day basis. And occasionally I'll get behind, but I'm going to catch up, and I'm going to get them all done. And so, but first thing out of the bed in the morning, I listen to the scriptures. While I'm brushing my teeth, while I'm fixing my coffee, I'm listening to the daily scripture. There's something that happens when it goes in my ears. But then I'll watch her little video, Good Morning Bible Readers kind of, deal where she gives a short explanation, which I love, that short explanation. And then I'll sit down and read it, because it's not enough for me to hear it. I have to put my eyes on it. But I also, this, and church, this, I have to write. In my Bible, I underline, circled, I'm diagramming the sentences. I have to interact with a pen, and I write the notes of what the Lord is saying to me. But one of the other things I do is I keep a journal, a 5-year journal. And I'm intimidated by journals, is the honest truth. I don't love it. So I do a 5-year journal, which it's 5 years on one page. So you can only write about that much
snippet
per day, but I can see where I was on that day 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. And I can see what God has done in my life, what he was telling me then. Did I do that? Am I still doing that? And so my goal is to hear from the Lord. When I've heard from the Lord in that day, then I know I can check that off and move on throughout the day. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's the priority of it and putting it first on the to-do list.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, hey, this is just week 1 of Rabbi Jesus, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the series and continuing the conversation. In fact, just to help keep the conversation going, there's some questions below for you to wrestle with and to consider. And if you need any help with the questions, or if you want more information about Battle Creek Church, just send a note to groups@battlecreekchurch.com.